And I think it'll tell you officially whenever it actually starts, like in the top right or something too. So
Yeah, it's there. We go. Yeah,
perfect,
cool.
perfect. So first of all, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you coming on. And we're
No,
here with Jesse Mathewson of Kin Mode. They're a sludgy, almost like punk energy with like a really heavy mentality band from Manitoba. Is that correct?
yep, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, up here,
Mhm.
and it's actually kind of nice out right now. We're experiencing spring on. I guess spring is what technically is it the 20th or 21st?
I thought it was like today. I think it may be today is
Might
like
be.
first day. Yeah.
We're not used to getting spring on spring, and
Hmm.
I blame global warming for that. But
Yeah.
normally we're still covered in snow for probably another month, and
Right.
it is like firmly spring. It's a little windy out, but yeah, very little snow. Most of it's melted because we basically most of March been in the plus digits for
Oh yeah.
Celsius. So I can't complain too much about that,
Yeah.
allowing us to actually go outside again. I mean, you guys got some snow recently, so
We really did. Yeah. I was actually snowed in with my girlfriend in Denton for that storm for like 5 days, and like 2.5 days we didn't have like any power, like just very sporadically.
oh
Uh,
boy.
we were on we were on like a boil notice for the water. So like not only was the water, shut off in the area, but you had to boil snow because even if you did have water, it wasn't safe to drink for a while. Like it was insane. But now, like you said, it's almost exactly as you described. It's nice and springtime outside. Birds chirping, sun shining. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, the regular Texas way.
Hmm. Not quite like 100 degrees yet, but yeah, it's getting up there. So
Yeah. I kind of miss getting to do that. I was actually having a conversation, a brief one, through Instagram with someone who reposted a video from 2015, I think, at South by, some
hmm
show that we did with I know United Nations played Power Trip, us. I feel
power
like the
trip.
Cancer Bats were on that one too. Um,
They're a great underrated band. Not enough people know about them either, for sure.
yeah, at least in the U.S., they're considerably more popular than a band like us in Canada. But yeah, they
Yeah.
just
Oh,
for
sorry. Go
some
ahead.
for some reason they just didn't catch on to that degree in the U.S. Anyway, it was just he was kind of talking about. I was saying how it's kind of wild in retrospect how stacked a lot of those shows at South by were. Like even I think for the most part, heavy music's been kind of left by the wayside with that stupid fest. But for a good handful of at least a decade, like there were six shows like every hour going on
Right.
there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. I don't have a concept really at all of like the music scene in Canada or anything like that, besides like a couple bands that I know, from that area. But I imagine that there are like a lot of stuff that I probably need to check out from Canada. I know there's some Canadian bands that are pretty crazy though. So
Yeah, I mean, in terms of stuff you guys wouldn't have heard of, it's kind of a yes and no. Like most of the bands that are worth the shit, I'd expect a lot of Americans to know who they are. But that's simply because if you're a band that generally wants to do things, we all try to tackle the US first. Because it's
right.
considerably easier to tour. As much as like work visas are frustrating to try and get. Um, but Canada's just not an economical place to tour. Like we're
Mm.
long, we're very very wide. Like the U.S. is wide. Canada it keeps getting wider as you go
Yeah, just
north.
like tapers out. Yeah.
Yeah, and all the cities worth playing in Canada are all sprinkled along the border. So if you want to tour Canada, you have to drive like it's a total God, from us to Toronto is a 24-hour drive, and from us to Vancouver is a 24-hour drive, and that's
Jeez.
not even the full span. Like
Yeah,
we
that's insane.
continue going east from Toronto for like at least another 12 hours. Like it's crazy how big it is, and there's not a lot of markets you can hit to like loop around. At least with the U.S., you can do a full month looping the entire U.S. and everything in between, and it's like it actually makes an okay circuit. So that's
Yeah.
why most of the bands up here, if you can, and if you can get any traction, you go down to the states.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. I never even like thought of that. Like, just the different like topography, making it like so much more difficult for tours down there and stuff. So
Yeah, it's and I mean we did the thing. I think our first tour was a Canadian tour with remember that band The End from like 20 years ago?
Yeah, yeah.
That was our first was a Western Canadian tour with them. So
Dang, that's crazy. That's a good way to start.
yep, yep. That's a name. They must have threw in the towel probably what 2005 2006 feels like.
Yeah, that's the year that I graduated, so that sounds right. Yeah, I think
Oh,
that would probably be right. Yeah, like
oh,
right
you're
around
making
that time.
me feel old now.
No, 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 no. It's fine. This gonna be our decade. 30s are that's where it's at, man. So.
Oh, dude, I'm turning 40 this year.
Oh, okay. Well, you got one left. So.
Yeah, yeah. Got to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do I have to look forward to? Is it how's the late 30s treating you right now?
Late 30s has been good. Physically, you start to hurt a little bit more though. You got to
I'm
start doing
feeling that. Definitely
yeah,
feeling that.
rehab and stuff like that. I know in my early 30s things started to hurt and they didn't just get better all of a sudden.
Hmm.
And then by mid 30s you figure out, oh, you got to start doing rehab to make those things not hurt, which
Yeah.
that
I've
realization kind of sucks, but at the same time it's better than being in your 40s and going, yeah, that doesn't work anymore, which was kind of the previous
yeah.
generation's approach to those things.
Right.
So at least
Like,
we
yeah,
know.
this is steel now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you work out this little thing here, then you won't get that pain over here, and you don't have to replace that part here. So
Right. Yeah. That's
science.
like you're becoming a cyborg. Back in the day to have to do that, but. Well, and
Yeah,
especially with like the shows that you guys do as well. I mean, like it's like such like a high energy and stuff. Like you're probably like just tearing your body up, for what since 2002, 2003 or something. So
yeah. I mean,
that's a long
we
time.
we formed in '99, and I feel
Oh
like if
wow.
anything, our live show just continues to get more physical. And I mean, we're not doing like a Dillinger Escape Plan type thing. Like that was, I get why they stopped doing what they were doing. But
Yeah.
that being said, like ours is still a very visceral, physical reaction to what we're doing, and I have no idea if we're going to be able to continue at that degree the way we've been doing it into our older age. But I mean, I guess we'll see. I know I've given myself neck problems with what we do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Same. I mean, like, and I haven't even had the pleasure of touring, like, just from my own life, sleep, like drums, like not playing
Yeah,
properly, like in the early days and stuff. So it's just been, yeah, it's like already a struggle. So I feel you on that one. But it's funny you mentioned the Dillinger show too. Like, it's probably a good thing you aren't doing stuff like that because, like, I saw them in Berkeley in 2016 and with Cult Leader actually, and like I saw like Greg Puciato, the vocalist, just like jump off of this super like way too tall rafter, just like right into the crowd. I mean, it was just like he was probably feeling that the next day. So like stuff like that, it's just like it's good to see, but I just imagine the toll that takes on your body after a while.
yeah. The things that bum me out the most is I know there's at least one kind of viral one from within the community of Ben Wyman doing what was he? He was like sliding or standing on something, and he fell on his back onto some big monitor. It was just
I don't
total.
know. I have not even seen that.
Yeah, I mean, he'd do a lot of things while playing guitar that I would never, ever want to do. I know even the last time I saw them when they were on one of their later tours, but I think it was the only time they ever came up here to Winnipeg. Um, they basically set up his cabinets so he can climb them, which,
Just like a fucking aggro crag or something
yeah,
of
like
stacks. That's awesome.
while you're playing, I don't know, while he's playing that shit, that's wild. I would never
Yeah.
want to get on top of my guitar cabs. But that being said, I mean, I've climbed PAs while playing, so.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's all fun until somebody like breaks a leg and then has to like stand or sit rather like in a cast while you're playing like Dave Grohl or something. So
Yeah,
but
that could be a bummer. I know a band that we used to be friends with called Villepend. The singer, actually, while playing with Dillinger Escape Plan, was climbing up on a monitor, and you know how monitors kind of tip.
yeah,
They're not a balanced
got that
square,
teeter. Yeah.
and he slid off of it and fell down. I don't know whether it was onto his ankles in a weird way, but he broke his back from sliding off of a monitor, and it's just.
That's brutal.
Uh,
That's awful. Yeah. I mean, that's not something that I ever want to experience. Like maybe seeing it live, something, but then you're kind of like a NASCAR spectator just waiting for the or spectator waiting for the crash, so I feel
Yeah,
kind of guilty after that. But
I don't
and
generally like seeing people get hurt for real.
no, yeah, there's always like that train wreck quality of like not being able to look away, but eventually you have to, or you could just get tired of that in general, can't do it.
Yeah, the desensitization that is everyone's attention on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I know you guys have played with some pretty crazy artists as well. Like some of my personal favorites too, like Pelican, Mastodon, Circle Takes the Square, Fuck the Facts. Like, do you have any like good tour memories, or like are you looking to like do anything with those bands? Hopefully, whenever like things open back up or something, anything that was planned or postponed, unfortunately.
Oh man, we were in talks about doing something with Primitive Man potentially
Oh,
uh,
nice, yeah.
before the pandemic hit. I don't know whether it would have panned out or not because those guys they put out a record last year and they were trying to plan how they were going to tour for that. And they talked to us about potentially doing something, and they were looking to do like a 2 month full North American thing, and I don't know whether anything would have panned out because like we can't go out for that long anymore. Shane and I run our own business management company that works with other bands,
Oh,
and
nice.
about the longest we can go out for is probably 3 weeks at a time now without things becoming problematic. And when he was pitching, like, yeah, well, we're looking for someone for the full 2 months. Like, oh, dude,
That
I'd love,
sucks.
I'd love to do some of it, but like, we can't do that. That's a lot of my life. I don't
Yeah,
have that
yeah.
much time left.
No, I think you have. I think you're, like you're a third of the way there, man. The way
Yeah,
technology's going now. Yeah, you'll get some nanites in you and shit. Like it'll all be fine. Don't worry
yeah.
about it. Yeah.
I mean, unless we have like 3 or 4 more of these pandemics in our lifetime, which who knows? Who knows? Maybe the third round will get me.
I can't wait. Yeah, can't wait for it. Yeah, it's funny. Oh, and also I noticed that you guys had played Hellfest Open Air in France as well.
Yeah, we did that in 2011, so it would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah, like how does that come about? I'm curious. Like how does that gig come into play?
Generally, if you're cool enough to be asked, you get asked. We filled in for someone who dropped off. I think because at the
Oh,
time
really?
just the right balance of hype and intrigue. And the agent that we had at the time got asked if we wanted to fill in, and we said, yeah. And we never got asked again, which go figure.
Wow. Okay. So must that's maybe like the best compliment also as well. Maybe
Yeah,
they're like these guys. It's a little much. What
yeah.
did you play? Oh no, it's 2011. I was going to say, what did you just play like Illusion of Dignity and just like really freak everybody out with the noise? Something
I wish. Yeah,
or something like Blessed.
it'd be fun to do something like that again. I think that was the first time we ever flew into something too. Uh, so we were a little out of our element in terms of like using gear we'd never used. Like
Oh yeah.
there are all you always go through these firsts with things like that, and it was kind of unfortunate that that was our first for ever flying into a festival. Now we've dealt with that a few times, so we know more how we'd approach that sort of thing. But whatever, it's all part of the experience, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I imagine it was still a pretty crazy experience to do that. So.
Yeah, it was like the festivals run very very well, and it was just kind of trippy. We'd never been at a thing to that magnitude before, or I guess really since. We've done obviously festivals and bigger shows, but like that festival is gigantic. It's an open air one, and
Yeah.
who was that year? I think Ozzy Osbourne was headlining one of them. So
Oh yeah.
like,
Just Aussie. Yeah.
yeah,
No big
there's
deal.
big stuff going on. I think we caught
Yeah.
Rob Zombie at that one too. There's a lot of
Oh
wild
wow.
stuff.
Yeah, damn, that's crazy, man. Oh, and I wanted to loop back. You said the business management company, and I mean, forgive my ignorance if I'm wrong, but is that related to Arctidus, like the record label that you run
Um,
as well, or is this?
so the funny roundabout aside with that one, I incorporated that as a company back in 2007 or 2008, I believe, with the intention of kind of starting my own imprint to put out records. We sort of put out our Mennonite record on that label, but then ended up running all the actual business through the Ken Mode business partnership. And we
Oh, okay.
kept the incorporated entity alive for years because I spent the money to do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
And once we started MKM, our faction of MKM Management Services, which Shane and I started doing after we stopped touring full time,
Mm-hmm.
we actually converted Arctotus Records into a holding company.
Oh, nice. Okay, there you go.
So if we ever have more money than we take as a salary, we'll just shoot that up into that holding company and just save cash in there.
Yeah, see that's the late 30s thing to do, like that's perfect. I like that. That's awesome.
Tax planning and estate plan. Well, not estate planning, but more so tax planning and for your retirement.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The way of the small business owner.
Yeah, right. Maybe you could even like carve out a niche like young bands getting into music, how to properly control their assets and keep hands out of their pie or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think their biggest problem is just keeping cash and having enough money to eat when they come home.
Yeah, that does sound probably more like a pressing matter. So that's funny. Oh, well, okay. Next thing I want to talk about is Venerable. I saw that it just turned 10 years old, and I was just listening back through it, learning more about it too. I did not know that Kurt Ballou of Converge was like involved in the recording process and stuff.
Yep, he engineered and mixed it.
That's awesome. And I want to say, I may be wrong about this too, but that was I think before I really knew that he was already doing that. I think the first thing that I heard about him doing was maybe something in 2013 with All Pigs Must Die or something like that. I don't know if he was doing it before that.
Oh yeah, but he'd been doing. I think he was recording bands full time at that point for at least a few years.
Oh, okay.
Because we chose to work with him based on some of the work he'd done with bands like Suicide Note and Swarm of the Lotus, and I really liked the way he produced their No Heroes record. So he was definitely headfirst into doing that as a full-time job outside of Converge, but he was definitely becoming a more versatile producer at that point. Because I know when we worked with him, a lot of the people who followed that music scene really knew him for a lot of the kind of hardcore and Deathwish Inc. oriented bands that he'd done.
Right.
But he clearly has the capability and ear to do many, many styles of music. And I know he's obviously done a lot of different stuff ever since.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, they're one of my all-time faves. I mean, they are really inspirational to my kind of discography, along with others that I still think are I mean, it may be crazy to call them underrated still, but Meshuggah, Deftones, where I just talk to people who love music but just don't really know them or dive deep into them or anything like that. So yeah, that's kind of why I've started this whole thing, it's just criminal, that's certain bands just don't have more eyes on them, so yourself included.
I feel like bands like Deftones and Meshuggah, that's just a headset, I think, of normal people versus not normal people. Because
maybe
if you follow underground music, how could you not know who those bands are?
Dude, I mean, I talked to some people who have shown me stuff that I think is impressive. I have this friend Hollis who just is into just really obscure stuff that that I don't really know, and it's not all heavy. It can be anything from Monster Rally to just weird kind of stuff, hip hop stuff that I've never heard of. Like clipping he showed me, for example, and stuff. But then then he gets into metal music, heavy music, and it's kind of just more of the on rail stuff, the more easily accessible stuff, without being offensive, just bands of course Metallica and Hatebreed and stuff. I'm dude, you got to get into this weirder stuff, this different stuff, just not really knowing full discographies of bands that I would just really feel people and my friends would enjoy. So I kind of just kind of curate music playlists for all of them and just kind of hope that something sticks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now in that context. Mm-hmm. But if you were talking to someone who's like, I don't know, follows, if they know of a band like us, if you'd never heard of some of the bigger bands, it's like, what?
Yeah, no, not necessarily like just knowing like the bands that I'm interviewing or something. I mean, that like I, almost like wouldn't expect. I kind of like purposely, like kind of like choose bands. I'm just like, I kind of do pride myself in having those like, just those really unique bands, those like niche bands that are just doing something that's like kind of hard to put a label on, kind of hard to define, and maybe
Mhm.
like changes throughout like the discography. Like I like what I was kind of saying earlier with like dignity, like kind of leaning in to that more like noise element of like blessed, for example, stuff like that. Like just really like the abrasive stuff. You know what I mean? But then
That's
there's
kind of
like
what we're all about.
yeah. But then on the other side, there's stuff like dead actors, like more solemn and just almost like this more like kind of spoken word, element. And uh man, just stuff like absolutely not, just absolute banger, just like in out 3 minutes. It's just like bouncy, has that like very like punk energy. It's just nice. Like it has like a nice dichotomy. You can go super super heavy, like with stuff from Loved, and then just also have this like that kind of more old school element, like from the ones from 2003 to 2011. It's just nice. Like you've really kind of like grown with me, like some of my favorite bands. So
Well, that's
it's
cool.
appreciated.
Glad to have you along for the ride then. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're recently talking about this in another interview with the variety that we have in our sound. I think for the people who like us, they find it refreshing, and I think for a lot of people who follow more scene oriented music in this subgenre, I think it kind of is almost a detriment to
Mm.
people adopting us as something they want to listen to. Because I don't know, I get so much of a sense that people listen to certain bands because that's the sound they want to hear from this, and
Mm.
because we don't do that, we I don't know, we sometimes are a little bit harder to swallow for a lot of people. Like we're not a hardcore band, we're not just a straight noise rock band, we're not a post metal band, we're not a sludge band. What are we? I don't know.
It's just kill everyone now. It's just
Yeah,
that kind of. So but that's kind of my favorite element, is just like people who are just doing what they want to do and just not worrying about that, you know what I mean? So because
yeah.
otherwise it's kind of, you're making it not for yourself really, or not for that purpose.
The story we want to tell has a lot of variety to it. We feel like it fits together in a special way, but I guess some people don't.
Right. Yeah, I always kind of like, I don't want to say like lose respect for some of my friends or like people that I talk to when they just kind of are disappointed when a band changes sound or like does something different or something, because I'm always like, well, it's not like it discounts, what they did before or something. That you can just like build this library up, and then you can just, read what you want basically, for lack of a better term. So I never understood that, how people just
Yeah.
don't go with the change. It's like they'll even like kind of get off of a band or something, like just because of that. I never understood that. It's
No,
interesting.
I get like it's a complicated thing. Like when you develop a relationship with a band, you it's a time and a place, and sometimes it might not continue past that record. Sometimes you might fall out of love with that record because you as a person change. But
Right.
uh, yeah, it's always fascinating when people give bands shit for changing their sound, and then they also give bands shit for not changing their sound. So it's like,
That's true too. It's like if you're just kind of doing the exact same thing, then you're only kind of adding a prologue or something, or epilogue rather, instead of making a whole other piece of art or something, So
yeah,
yeah, I
I don't.
definitely agree with that.
People should just feel appreciative that they felt something in the first place.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah.
as time
Exactly.
goes on, that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to experience things that make us feel anything.
That's so true, and like kind of happy and sad at the same time. But there's just so much out there, like majority of it, I feel like that just doesn't make me personally feel much of anything. So it's just like nice to find, those bands that 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 do that to you, that can give
Yeah.
you goosebumps, that can like make you move, that can like make you like, I have to show this to somebody. It's like something you want to like, share. I really love that. So
Yeah, and that's the aspect about certain people within this music community that like what you're doing right now, where you just I got to share this because not everyone.
yes.
And I mean, I'm the same way. I that's probably the only reason I keep something like social media shy of for promotional
Same.
means with the band, but like for my own personal stuff, like it's just about sharing music,
Right.
both with people and my network of people that I've developed over the years through this band. Like you learn about cool stuff that you never hear of, and like that's kind of the meaning of life for me with this medium. I love it so much, and I want to experience as much as I can.
Yes, yeah. It's like great dishes, you know what I mean? Like you can always find more, you can always find more to like, or more to hate, better yet. So like here's what I don't want, but yeah, that's great, man. And oh, well, okay, this is as good a segue as any as I'll get. Speaking of dishes, I always like to ask bands this dumb question of like, how would you describe your band as a dish? I'm wondering if you had any ideas of how you would describe Ken Mode as a dish.
As a dish,
Hmm.
oh man, it's gonna be something bitter.
Okay, all right, I like that. Okay, we
Something
got
bitter.
bitter.
Um, I mean, sometimes we'll mix in the odd savory flavor, I think, but I don't think we
Okay,
get that sweet generally. Um,
no, no,
you're
save
gonna have
all
some
savory.
variety. There's going to be a good variety of maybe some bitter vegetables, some cooked more than others.
Okay,
Um,
I'm gonna throw in two more adjectives here, like something like unsettling and maybe bouncy. So
bounce.
right now, I'm going with some sort of like something heavy and bouncy. I'm thinking of like some sort of Jello mold that has some sort of savory meats and something bitter in it, or something that's just like almost like a little bit unsettling, even just to look at or something.
I
But I
mean, if
like the bitter and the savory for sure.
it's going to have a bitter flavor to it, the bounce and the unsettling nature is getting even more disgusting, and I'm liking this less and less. I don't think I want to
Okay.
eat the thing.
Oh, most of these you won't want to eat, just so you know. These are not meant to be like delicious dishes. Just merely descriptive dishes, that kind of
Yeah.
describe. They don't even
Oh,
really have to be like based in reality. I mean, like I was talking to Will from Artificial Brain. I mean, like his answer was just like kind of crazy too, as well as Tyler from Knots. Like had this whole like story that it was, yeah, it was crazy, man. But yeah, okay. I
I
like the
think
bitter. I like the savory.
I would like to mix up this weird, disgusting plate into a blender and perhaps rub it all over someone's skin.
Okay, now it's like some sort of salve or something.
Yeah,
Okay, like
yeah,
okay, so like a topical meaty ointment just to
yeah.
be absorbed across the entire body.
Ken mode topical lotion.
There you go. There's your $1 million idea right there. Okay, I
Hmm.
like that. I like that a lot. Okay, all right. Oh, okay. Another thing I want to get into is the latest release. I'm curious. It's the 3-song track from you guys, Shallow, North Dakota, Kowloon Walled City. And I'm curious, like it lists all three of you as the artist. Or are you are all three bands involved in all three songs, or is it kind of like a three-way split? What's going on there?
That's a complicated thing because it's a kind of a tribute slash benefit record that we threw together because our
For
friend
Tony, correct?
our friend Tony has
Oh, that's right.
cancer, and
Yes.
Kowloon Walled City already had a cover of Shallow, North Dakota, uh, recorded that they made back in 2011. Shallow, North Dakota had this song from their last album session from back in like 2002 that they never put this song out. So there were these two unrecorded songs that both of them had the idea when this came up, uh, to put out something to try and raise some extra money for Tony.
Right.
And I got wind of this from them and decided that we could whip something up too. So Shane and I put together,
Whip up a quick dish. Love it.
yeah, two Shell North Dakota tracks that I mixed, blah blah blah, and we've done the pre-order for this thing to raise funds, and I put it up on Spotify and all the streaming stuff myself through our DistroKid account, and the limitations on how you can tag these things through an account like that made so all three bands have to be listed on all the tracks, which is kind of annoying. It's just each band doing one track.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm used to, but yeah, that was weird. I had not really seen much of that, so that's interesting.
I know the way for something that is more than two bands, the way a regular distributor would do that, it would be kind of released as a compilation, so it'd be
Right.
showing up like at the very bottom of the profile kind of thing. So in the end, we just went like, it doesn't really matter that much because we're just trying to raise as much money as we can for Tony. So if all three bands are tagged
Right.
on all three tracks, that's fine. It'll probably get seen the most that way anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it puts it at the top, you know, like when I was just like doing research for this, like I was not aware of this either. So like whenever, what was that, like January or something, whenever we first emailed or something, like
Yeah.
that was like brought to my attention, like just because we like going back to Venerable, you know, for the anniversary and stuff. So it's like a kind of nice way to do that too. And I'm sure it'll bring like so many more people to Kowloon and Shallow, you know, if they don't know, or you guys if they're coming there from those other bands too. So
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
I think
So
the coolest part of all this is the number of people that both us and Kowloon Walled City have been able to get into Shell, North Dakota, because that
right,
they basically stopped touring in the very early 2000s. So like they haven't really been much of a band for almost 20 years now.
right.
They did get back together for a stint of shows in 2018 that we actually played a long weekend worth of shows with them in Western Canada. So that ended up being kind of the connection that we have with them. We actually we met them almost 20 years ago though, because they used to tour with a band called Kittens up in
Mm-hmm.
Canada. It was one of the bands near and dear to us from here and a huge inspiration. So it's kind of that whole weird, twisted Canadian noise rock scene.
I love it.
But it's been very cool getting a lot of people to know who Shell, North Dakota is, because they have those three records that are for the time, I think, groundbreaking, and they're one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest, Canadian band of all time. And it's been really cool just getting new people into that band.
Yeah, damn. Strong endorsement from Jeffy Mathewson, heaviest Canadian band ever. I like that. That's a good title. And so I checked as well, like that there's a GoFundMe for it as well. So if anybody does want to donate, I'm definitely going to link it in the description. As of today, it had a little over 43,000 out of their $75,000 goal. So, which is like, that's pretty incredible already. But, you know, if you want to go donate to that, I will definitely link it in the description. So
Yeah.
it couldn't have a better cause, right? So,
Amen.
right.
Hopefully he beats this thing. It sounds like things are going well. So
That's good.
that's all we can
That's
hope
good.
for.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Well, moving on to happier stuff, I want to talk about is the St. Vitus show from 2018, I believe. It was like right after Loved was released, I want to say, or like same
All
month
right.
even, maybe something like that. So is that something that y'all like had already done touring for? Do y'all have something else that you're working on already for new music that we can expect to hear within the next couple of years, or?
I mean, in terms of new music, yeah, we started writing before the pandemic hit, and
Mm-hmm.
when all that kind of went down, I lost my mind and threw out all the material we'd written because I hated it.
Okay.
So we started from scratch, and I started learning how to record our own demos just through having nothing else to do and not being able to actually have rehearsals with my band.
Right.
I kind of downloaded Reaper and started tooling around, and through that process started writing some new songs, and we've since kind of picked up, and we're at about nearing 70 minutes of new material now.
Nice.
And that's
Okay.
basically since last May that I started doing that. So the plan right now is in July. Hopefully, as long as the pandemic stuff doesn't get worse again, we're
Mm-hmm.
hoping that we'll be able to fly Andrew Schneider, who did the Loved record with us. Hopefully, we'll be able to fly him up here in July. That's the plan, at least, to track all the material we can in 14 days, and then see if we get 2 records out of that. I'm
Nice.
hoping we can. Because I don't really feel like we're the type of band that can really get away with like a proper double LP and have people actually buy it.
Well, I mean, you got one right here for sure.
Yeah, we need more than one to recoup, though, man.
Yeah, I mean, you could just make it very expensive, but yeah, that's a good idea. But yeah, I mean, well, I think that's a pretty crazy idea. Just doing like a little like quarantine within a quarantine, just locking up for 2 weeks and seeing what you can come out of it. I mean, that's
Yeah,
pretty cool. I kind of like that. So
the amount of materials, it's going to be cool. I mean, I think we have like 14 or 15 songs that we have to finish the stuff that we just got done writing last week, but I think it'll end up being a decently mixed up 2 full lengths with enough variety that it tells a distinct story in each. So we'll end up probably releasing those in different time periods, so we're not just doubling up, but it gives us something that we can put out more consistently. Because like right now, I mean, granted, the last year has been a vacuum for everyone, but it'd be nice to not have to put out things once every 3 years. I know when we were touring full time, we were kind of on the 2-year album cycle, which is pretty standard. But now that we're working day jobs, that's a little harder to do and actually support. And especially since nobody really knows what the touring circuit's going to look like in the post-pandemic situation.
Yeah.
It'd be better to just put stuff out, and if we can actually at least recoup on it, then we can kind of keep the machine rolling forward.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah. Yeah, I was actually I talked to Mike of Inter Arma, who I know now, Andrew Lacour, I think, who used to play with you guys, is now in Inter Arma. Like about that like very subject. It's probably going to be pretty crazy, very congested. Like everybody's going to be wanting to go back up. Everybody's going to be wanting to go to the shows, so that's going to be pretty crazy.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a healthy like thing, like everybody's going to be wanting to do that. Like I just wonder like what the backlog of shows is going to look like, like hopefully they just are scheduling them all the time. So I can't wait. But.
Yeah. I mean, we're probably going to not try to compete with everyone for that. So we're kind of setting our sights on likely not doing any dates till later 2022, because there are plenty of bands that do it full time for a living that we do not need to get in the way of. So
right. Well, that's nice. Yeah, let them have their full-time job doing that, right? While you hold down 2 others. You know what I mean? So
yeah, cool. Exactly.
Okay, so I want to ask on the new stuff we were talking about. Can we expect any weirdness from like some piano or saxophone, like we've heard before, or something? I always love when there's good piano or saxophone and some weird music. So
there's
like almost.
There's gonna be so much more than before.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Because like there's some parts I was like, man, this is like venturing into like some like Naked City territory or something. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty interesting. So like I always love to hear that.
Yeah, with the sax, we were going for like a noisy, abstract jazz feel, and we're definitely like the woman who played saxophone on the last one. We're trying to work this out, so we're going to be a 4-piece live going forward, where she's going to be doing saxophone, synth, piano. Honestly, the way I've been producing the pre-production for these songs, her job is probably going to be the most difficult in the band, because I have her flipping so many different settings part by part.
That's awesome, though.
But at least there won't be an expectation that she has to throw her body around while doing it or anything.
Right. No, yeah. You build the stack monitors. You let her just, bebop back and forth from the sax to the synth. I like that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's almost becoming like what's the word? Like just like a set piece show, like just like watching people like move around to their different parts and stuff. That's pretty awesome, man. I cannot wait to see that. So
we're going to have to build like a fort around her of different synthesizers and electric pianos and noise boxes.
Yeah. like
It's
a like the Neil Peart, but of like synths or something,
yeah, it'll look.
Yeah,
I mean, it's gonna be a nightmare to play shows with all the setup and moving things and
it'll be worth it. Give people just like 5-10 extra minutes to go, smoke their cigarettes, joints, what have you, and then they're ready. Then they're ready for the synth show.
yeah.
So I can't
Yeah,
wait
we
for that.
actually last weekend was the first time the four of us actually got into a room and tried to play through some of these, and it wasn't even with all the instruments. Like we hooked up an electric piano and one synth that made like
Hmm.
one sound, but even
Hmm.
just being able to do that was so refreshing because my brother and I have been trying to rehearse these songs just as guitar and drums, and when that's like maybe what 2/5 of the things going on,
Yeah,
maybe 2/6.
need some extra hands.
Yeah, it feels pretty meh. So it was nice to hear the way the songs are meant to be played.
Yeah,
So
that's nice.
there'll be more of that going forward.
Well, good. I can't wait. You guys, y'all started that band, right? Like you, as the brothers, were the founding members, correct? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay. I'm curious, like, what were some of y'all's early influences, like around that time, that made you guys pick up your respective instruments?
Same stuff that does the thing for us now.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of there are bands that are a part of this band's DNA. Whether
Hmm.
other sounds kind of come in and dissipate over time, but like bands like Today's the Day, Dazzling Killmen, the Melvins, uh,
Melvin's amazing.
Unsane, Jesus Lizard, Drive Like Jehu, Zenny Giva,
Jesus,
Cop Shoe
listen.
Cop. Like a lot of stuff like that is just I grew up listening to it and it will forever be a part of the way I play. I can't separate it at this point. So
Those are some greats. That's some weirdness in there. That's a lot of weirdness. So I
yeah.
like that.
Well, it's stuff like the
That's
Melvins that is why we are never satisfied with ever holding down one specific sound. Because
Yeah,
like
they're a great example of that.
they are what they are, and they like especially like records like the ones on Atlantic, the major label years, like those are all over the spectrum, and that's kind
Hmm.
of been our high water mark for the kind of story you should attempt to tell with a record. So
Right. Yeah. That's crazy. There's some good picks in there. I like that, man. Well, man, I really enjoyed talking to you, Jesse. I cannot wait to hear the new stuff. Definitely keep us posted. I'd love to have you back on, or at least shout out the new stuff. And
sounds like
everybody, make sure to go buy the new single. Where can we buy that? Is it only available on Spotify?
Bandcamp, Kowloon Walled
Okay,
City Bandcamp is the place to hit. Yeah, that's where
Kowloon
we're.
Walled City Bandcamp. Okay, KOWLOON Walled City. And don't forget to catch Kin Mode at kin-mode.com or on Instagram at kinmodenoise. Jesse Mathewson, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. Hopefully, we can get down to Texas and get some barbecue and burritos very soon. I miss
Yes,
it. I
dude.
miss it so much.
Yes, we will feed you barbecue. You can feed us some noise rock with some saxophone. Yeah, I'm loving that. So that's a good trade.
It's a
All right, man.
date sometime in 2023. Oh God.
All right. If we make it that far, right? If we can survive that long, we'll make it happen. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna get so fat on all that barbecue. That's
oh, dude,
honestly
it's the best.
since we've started to actually have like time and money to like do proper adult vacations and not
Hmm.
just always tour. Me and my partner just keep going down to the states because we have so many friends from touring, and they're just the food. For me, the food and the beer, and we end up going on food and beer holidays all the time.
We do know how to eat and drink
Yep.
in excess. That is for sure. It's a blessing and a curse, I'd say.
I always have to
But yeah,
come home and lose like 5 to 10 pounds, but that's also I think the only reason we like touring now is we treat it as a beer and barbecue holiday. So
right. Just like, ooh, what's this? Yeah.
yeah, we're stoked to do it again. Do the thing.
Yes. Okay. Well, I can't wait for you guys to come down and ruin 2 days of your life with all of the barbecue that you eat. So, all right, man. We'll talk soon. Okay, Jesse?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. All right. Have a good day.
You too.